Hello everyone. This is going to be Q&A practice for the 160 class, and I'm going to start out with just strictly Q&A. Defense will be questioning, but this is one page of nothing but Q&A practice. Okay, here we go. Ready? At what streets, Main Street and Oak Avenue, did you take a seat before this incident took place? Yes. Were you still seated in that seat when this incident happened? Yes. Where were you seated? What place on the bus? Yes. About in the middle, more or less, on the bus. What side of the bus? The right side of the bus. Do you mean the side where the doors are located? Yes. Were you seated next to the aisle? No. Were you seated next to the window? Exactly right against the window. How tall are you? I can tell you centimeters. Are you able to tell me in feet and inches? No. Give it to me in centimeters. 165 approximately. What length of time had you been on the bus when this incident took place? 10 or 15 minutes. I can't say exactly the time. For the block before this happened, what were you doing? Nothing. Were you looking out the window? Out the window. Were you also looking around the bus? Not really. Was there someone sitting on the seat in front of you? Yes. Can you describe this person? It was a blonde-haired lady. Was she alone in the seat? Well, she had an umbrella, and she had a lot of packages with her. Okay, so even though that, the material there wasn't dense, sometimes it's a little more challenging just because there's a lot of Q&A going back and forth, so a lot of sign changes. So that's why I think it's important that we practice just that Q&A. All right, now we're going into a transcript. The court will be starting. Here we go. Let's bring in the red jury, followed by the blue jury. Going back on the record of the case of People versus Monty, Hallig, and Hawkins. Go ahead, counsel. Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Anderson, one of the things we discussed last, I guess it was Thursday, directing your testimony, the testimony of the search of the Hawkins residence up on View Street. Do you recall that? Yes, sir. Okay, you indicated two of the items that were seized were an address book and a letter. Is that correct? Yes. May I approach? You may. Showing you People's 37. Is this the address book you were speaking of seizing? Yes, it is. Could you return it to that envelope, please? And is this the letter you seized from that residence, People's Exhibit 38? Yes, it is. I believe you also seized some clothing from the residence. Is that correct? Yes, sir. May I approach again, Your Honor? You may. People's Exhibit 33 is a black t-shirt. Was that seized from the Hawkins residence? Open it. Is it sealed at that time? At this time? Yes. Is that your handwriting on the front of that? Yes, it is. That was placed there when you seized this item? Yes. Yes, it was. Okay, People's Exhibit 34. Is this a pair of black Levi's that were seized from the Hawkins residence on September 2nd, 2014? Yes, it is. When Salvador Varla was arrested, you seized a pair of Vans tennis shoes that he was wearing. Is that correct? Yes. When you were out at the crime scene collecting evidence at the crime scene and examining the area for physical evidence, you did an examination of Mark Walker's body and his clothing and shoes. Is that correct? Yes. Did you note if there was any dust or dirt on any of his shoes or clothes? None. You looked at his shoes to determine whether or not his shoe prints could have possibly been left at the crime scene in the dirt? That's correct. Did you see any dirt on the soles of his shoes? No. Did you examine the left rear taillight assembly to the trunk of Mark Walker's vehicle? Both of them, yes. And did you find anything unusual about one of the one of the rear taillight assemblies? Yes. Which one? I believe both of them, but the left more than the other. What did you note that was odd about the left rear taillight assembly? That the plastic wing nuts that hold the taillight assembly onto the body of the car, all the wing nuts had been removed and the taillight assembly had been pushed out as far as possible from the inside. All right, nothing further. In examining the shoe prints that were in the dirt, you noted in your report that there appeared to be 3 other styles that did not belong to police officers at the scene. Is that correct? Yes. And those were the shoe prints that were photographed? Yes, they were. Behind the victim's vehicle, there appears to be a ledge or a ridge that goes down. Is that correct? That we see in the photographs in People's 1? Yes. What's down behind where the victim's vehicle was backed up into? A lot of trees and brush, and basically like a 40-50 foot drop off, and goes down to a wash area. Did you examine down below in the wash area? Yes. We're looking at 1B up on the monitor. It's been disconnected, counsel. I hope I knew what I was doing. Okay, down behind where the victim's vehicle is, you indicated there's a wash area. Is that? I'm attempting to focus that. Do you see where I'm looking at on this photograph that's up there at this time? Yes, ma'am. Down in this area down here? Yes. Did you examine that area for evidence also? Yes. Did you do that night, or did you go back there on a different day? I did a little bit that night, and then I came back another day and checked it. Is it true there's a bunch of old tires and other garbage that are down in that area? A lot of trash, a lot of concrete, broken up concrete dumped down there. You attended the autopsy in this case. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. And you're aware that 4 projectiles were recovered? Yes. Okay, I'm going to switch transcripts. We're going to go back to this sexual harassment with the city of San Diego. All right, so this is also going to be defense. Who was that person? I worked with me and Deb like 2 nights, and then me, Deb, and Jim 1 night. I'm sorry, it was 3 of us in 1 night like that. Okay, so some nights you worked with 3 people, and some nights you worked with 2 people? Yes. Okay, and one was named Deb? Deb. They called her Deb. Do you know her last name? No. And then Jim, do you know his last name? No. How long was Debbie, working there? How many years? I don't know. I think about 5, 6. How long was Jim working there? He has been there over like 15 years or 20, something like that. When you worked the day shift, what did you usually work? Who did you work with? Ian. Do you know Ian's last name? Gifford. How long did he work there? About 15, 20 years. Anybody else? No, that was just the only person I worked with. And when you worked with Deb and Jim, was any one of you kind of like the lead person, or were you equal? When we worked together, we were both like equal. How about you and Ian? Ian equal. And other than the people we've already talked about, your supervisors and your coworkers, did you usually work with anybody else? I worked with all the staff, all of them, but basically the regular staff is what I already said, but sometimes if they didn't come in or if some big event, we go help someone over at another building basically. So you would say occasionally you would have to work at other places? Yes. But usually you worked with these people? Yes. How many custodians were there assigned to the bay? Through the week or just that day? How about through the week on an average? Okay, I think not more than 6. Okay, was it the people you already told me about? Them, and then what's her name? Me, Deb, Jim worked there. Then when I wasn't there, Valerie and Darren. And so was Valerie another custodian? Yes. Where did she usually work? The restroom crew. At the bay? Well, the whole park where they clean the restrooms out in the park. How about Darren? He worked like the lead person on OCA. He works all the buildings, but basically they have him at the Ocean Park. So how often would you see Vera? Basically when she's coming in and I'm leaving. She worked at night, so like I work the day, 3 o'clock, she comes 3:30, I'm leaving. I see her, but like pass. How often did you see Darren? Darren about the same because he used to work night, but they changed him like 2.5 years ago. He worked mostly days, so he's not there when I'm there because the days I'm in the daytime. He's not in the daytime. I'm off and he's at work. So basically different shifts? Yes. Okay, did you have anybody there that you were specially close to or like a good friend that you used to talk to all the time? I talk to everybody. Okay, and that concludes our Q&A practice for the 160 class. Have a great day.